Hello, my name is Kaylee Schnack, and I'm here to complete Module 1, Communicating Who You Are for Class EDL 854, Building Finance. So a little bit about myself is I'm currently living in Hays, Kansas, but I grew up in Salina, Kansas. I am married to RJ. We've been together for 6 years. We just celebrated our 6th-year wedding anniversary last Sunday. We have a sweet and adorable little boy named Kingsley, who is 11 months, and crazy enough, he will soon be 1 on November 1st. That whole year went really fast. We also have a sweet and lovable bulldog named Holly, who is also very lazy, but playful at times, and just completes our family. In my free time, I love to do arts and crafts, spend time with family and friends, play with Kingsley. We got to spend the whole basically year together as I worked remotely during the pandemic. And he was my sidekick, my teacher assistant. So it was great. We got to do lots of bonding, and I got to see lots of the first. We also love watching sports. We are a huge football family, and so Dallas Cowboys are my husband's favorite team, and the Kansas City Chiefs are my favorite team. We'll actually be going to Kansas City in a few weeks to go watch the big showdown at Arrowhead. We were crazy and bought tickets, so hopefully it's not freezing. And we also love to travel. Once we kind of got approval from the CDC that it was okay or safe to travel. We took a trip to California and Arizona to see our family so they could meet Kingsley. Here is my husband. His name is RJ, like I said, and he is the Assistant Director of Housing on Fort Hays' campus. And then, of course, me and our little guy. We were all wearing Fort Hays, so we thought it was a perfect photo op. Here's Kingsley and I. He's already changed. He doesn't look like that anymore. It's crazy how fast they grow. And then we had the opportunity to take Kingsley to his first Royals game. And so we got him to meet Slugger, which he wasn't the biggest fan of, but we still did it. And then, of course, our family photo of a newborn pictures a couple weeks after Kingsley was born. And I just love this photo of Holly because whenever you talk to her, she tilts her head. So it's pretty cute. It's like she knows what you're saying. Some background information about myself. I have a high school diploma from Southeast of Saline High School. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education and a minor in Leadership Studies from Southwestern College, which is down in Winfield, Kansas. I have a Master's of Science in High Incidence Special Education K-12 from Fort Hays State University. And I also have a Master's of Education in Special Education Early Childhood Unified, birth to 3rd grade from Wichita State University. Was not planning on getting 2 masters. But life happened, and now I have 2. Teaching background, this is my 9th year in education. I started my career out in special education. My first job was preschool special ed. I loved it, but then I had to move because I decided to get married and moved to Hays. I was there for 3 years, just doing elementary K through 3, and then went to Iowa, and I did pre-K through 2nd grade special ed. And then I just kind of needed a break. I was kind of getting burnout. So when I moved back to Kansas, I got a gen ed position as a 3rd grade teacher. And this is my classroom down here. We did a room transformation and worked as chefs in a bakery for multiplication. It was pretty fun. And then I taught remotely, which pandemic, thank you. And now I am the title and academic coach at Baker Dyke Elementary. I'm also the after school coordinator for our after school program that we just started, and it's grant funded. It's going great. So I do that right after I teach all day, and then I do that, and then I come home, and then I do homework. So pretty much have the life of just being busy and working in education, which I'm not complaining. I love what I do, but there are days that it gets long. I have previously taught in Winfield, Kansas, Hays, Kansas, and Nevada, Iowa. So Module 1, we had 4 articles that we were supposed to read, and then select 10 things that I gleaned from the articles. The first thing that I gleaned was developing a school budget. basically a budget is vital, and it helps schools achieve its goals. And it's that control system that motivates employees to be hard workers. And a budget should also define time periods within objectives that need to be met. So it's basically the framework of how your school is going to be, how it's going to be ran. I will be honest, I have limited experience with finances. Before I had my husband, I'm a really good spender. And so I would just spend and think it was fine. But now that I'm married, my husband loves to do the budget for us. So I let him do that. And I, of course, still spend. So I'm hoping that within this class, I will be able to learn how to budget for a school. Number two, I had that I found interesting was schools use accountants. So schools will use an outside professional accountant, but principals will keep track of their finances. So it's again important for me to know what I need to be tracking and making sure that we have the funds allocated in the right places and that we're using it for the right reasons. Number three is educating. By educating yourself and by using the best tools available is one of the best leadership steps you can take for optimizing your leadership while eliminating principal burnout. So this article by, I'm guessing his name is Shakarina, gave lots of softwares that are out there for principals to utilize. It was Zero, XRO, Phoenix, FreshBooks, HCCS. There were just lots of them that they added that, each software has their pros and cons, but they said getting one of those would help with eliminating that burnout for principals. Number four was the truth about principals. Principals are treated like the middle managers, and I never really thought of that. I've always thought principals, leadership, got it. But they're really not, because they have to work with the board and the superintendent, and they kind of make the rules of what needs to be done, and then they take those rules and then, divvy them up to the teachers. So they're just kind of the sandwiched in the middle. And the article also talked about how they have little control over the $694 billion that are given to public education spending, which that's a lot of money, and it's sad that they don't have much control over it. A lot of the decisions are made by legislator or district level bureaucrats, and then are far removed from students and the classrooms. Number five that I found interesting was the funds. At the state level, school finance formulas are determined on how dollars are allocated to districts. I knew that, but I did not know that they are restricted for specific purposes, and that's something that will have to be documented. And that it's supposed to ensure that funds are put to good use, and that these requirements often tie the hands of district officials. So if it's titled to go to one specific thing, like it has to go to that one specific thing, it can't be dipped in or spread throughout, which can be challenging. Number six was change. Many districts are reluctant to disrupt the status quo, and political challenges sometimes are insurmountable. So again, the politics in education, sometimes that can get wrapped around, and that's really difficult. I did like that they talked about making a principal empowerment accountant. So that way the principals get their money allocated directly from the state and not have to go through waiting and kind of just letting it sit and not being able to utilize it right away. Number seven was I found was critical accounting and financial reporting. I think that it's crucial for schools to be able to see their mistakes before they happen. In the article that I read, it talked about how one school thought they had the funds, but they didn't have the funds, and then they put themselves in years and years of debt. That's one thing that I don't want to happen, and it's probably a fear. is I just want to make sure that I'm making the necessary decisions and necessary decisions to not put my school in jeopardy and have to pay or borrow money that we don't have. Number 8 is set up for success. So understanding the financial limitations and flexibilities of the school. Excuse me. Set goals and formulate the right financial management strategies. So being able to understand the factors. Do you have these school resources, the backgrounds, the needs of the students, needs of staff? So being able to know all of your limitations and what you have and what you need and what you can't get. Number 9 is where does funding come from? And I knew that some of the funding came from taxes, but I didn't know how much. So 48% of the school's budget comes from state resources, such as income taxes, sales taxes, and fees. The other 44% is contributed through locally, primarily through property tax and homeowners. So that would make sense to me on why during election time so many people are like, oh, we don't want to raise property tax. Number 10 was federal school funding. So the government does not have the authority to set unfunded mandates on local schools. So schools can defer money, which I would have not imagined you would, but if you don't have the necessary boundaries or time to dedicate to gaining those funds, then I can see why you wouldn't want those programs. And some of the programs that are funded is like Title I, English language, Reading First, Individuals with Disability Act, and Improving Teacher Quality grants. So what have I seen from my principal? Well, he's supportive to his staff. He's willing to help with problems and provide ideas to solve problems for staff. He allows teachers to teach and not micromanage. He delegates leadership roles to staff. He protects his staff professionally. Even if he doesn't agree, he still will back you up. And he's willing to challenge the process and look for ways to do things more efficient. And then he also builds relationships with staff and students. What I have not seen from my principal, and I've been with my principal for 3 years now, and some of the things that I haven't seen is really about funds or building finance. Yeah, he's told me how much I have in my classroom fund, or he's told me how much the title funds are, but we haven't got to the deep. Oh my gosh, the deep part of that. And I wish I had a bigger picture of what our budget looked like. And then fundraising, like building leadership team, we talk about it, but we don't talk about it for all the rest of the staff and talk about what we're using that money for. So just having more transparency. Concerns about the future financial decisions. Basically, lack of experience, lack of knowledge, just being overwhelmed and confused. And then having that pressure from stakeholders, like teachers, parents in the community, to make the right decision, then having the pressure from the federal, state, and local governments to make the right decision, and then following procedures with efficacy and asking questions to have that continuous learning. Here are my correlations. So the articles were very informative, and I thought they were valuable. I just have that lack of building finance, and so I'm really wanting to dive in to learn as much as I can about the topic. Module 1 articles allowed me to just understand why schools are funded the way they are, and how we can gain funds and how we can get federal funding, state funding, or local funding. My relevance is as a future leader. It's important to know the finances for the fiscal year. That way you're not overspending or underspending. As a teacher, I just want to know more about the school budget and where our money actually goes. If we get government funds, grants, or the monetary gifts, or even fundraising money, I just have that limited knowledge again. And I want to know where all the funds come from. And I think it's vital for principals to talk about that with their staff, and they should be able to express where they want their funds to go, because it is a big decision and it can affect student success directly. Here's my personal reflection, and I just want to provide an opportunity to gain an understanding of where the funding is developed and why it's important to understand the school budget system. And I need to understand the financial lingo. I believe the articles are a smart resource, providing that basic